Hello, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're a first-time viewer. Hope you're well. Today, we need to talk about how Leeds United are potentially about to sell a youth international player that previously showed a hell of a lot of promise, but we also need to talk about why that's basically fine, and we need to chill when it comes to transfer windows. But first of all, drop a like on the video, maybe subscribe if you haven't yet. If you drop a like on the video, it just means it gets pushed out to more people, and that means that we can just spread the sort of news and the good vibes. That'd be hugely appreciated. If not, that's all good as well. Also, a very quick note, please remember that these are just rumours, mostly taken from, like, the most reputable of journalists, because I want to give the most accurate information to you guys possible. I keep getting people in the comments saying, there's no real news. But at that point, you're basically just looking at a club's Twitter feed. Anyway, into the news. And the first big bit is the Leeds United are set to sell a youth international that has appearances this season, which I thought was quite weird. Having looked back at what he's done this year so far, surprised me. Leo Hjelde is set to sign for Sunderland. We signed him a couple of years ago as a centre-back/left-back, a youth option that plays for Norway's under, I think, 21 side. Don't think he's got any senior fixtures yet, but I should have probably checked that. He's expected to bring in £2 million to Elland Road. It's a straight-up permanent deal. It's not a loan with an option or anything daft like that. It's just selling Leo Hjelde for £2 million. The sources on this are really strong. Phil Hay, Adam Pope, completely tier 1 reliable people. It's just waiting for complete confirmation from the clubs. And as much as some people worry about the fact that we keep selling players, this one isn't really an issue. I had a look through the player's information from the season so far. He's played 45 minutes in the league this season so far, and it was the first match of the season, and he was subbed off at half-time, which isn't a promising start. That first half, if I remember rightly, we were 2-0 down, maybe, against Cardiff City. And then he came off and we came back to make it 2-2. And I had a look through the rest of his matches and I thought, that's quite interesting. There's got to be some like weird data that backs all of this up. So I'm just going to very, very quickly share my screen for you. I should have probably set this one up in advance, but that's completely fine. There we go. Share. So Leo Hjelde's stats so far this season are not very good. So that first match of the season I was talking about, 2-2 draw against Cardiff City. Fine. 45 minutes, whatever. Played the first half against Shrewsbury in the League Cup. He played 45 minutes. Let's keep in mind, throughout that first 45 minutes, if I remember correctly, we lost the first half 1-0. I'm just going to have to be certain. Yeah, first half, 1-0 down. Not very good. Then the rest of the matches that he's played, we have also not won. And in the Premier League 2, the Under-21s League, we have also been not very good with Leo Hjelde on the pitch. We haven't, off the top of my head, been leading a game of football with Leo Hjelde on the pitch. It's not fantastic. Neither the first team or the youth team have won a match with Hjelde on the pitch. There's been a few draws, but that's fine. And even better, Leeds United have managed to make a profit on him. That's fantastic. That is not something to be complained about, especially considering we signed him for like £500,000 off the top of my head. £1.5 million in profit is probably enough to cover his wages because he won't have been on that much because he was a youth player. Pretty good deal, in my opinion, at the very least. In addition to that, we have a little bit of news on incoming players, but most of all, I think we just need to stay calm. Remember that there's 4 or 5 days left of the transfer window. I'll be here to bring through all of the sort of reputable rumours and all the news stories as they come, including live streams a few days a week. So stick around. That'd be appreciated. Anyway, the news on the incoming players is, first up, not that much. Compared to other days, it's been the same sort of names flying around. Your Connor Roberts, Ben Godfrey, bits and bobs. There has been some interest in Alessandro Zanoli, who was at Napoli. He's not a first-team player. I watch Serie A for my job sometimes, and I've not really heard of this guy. The source was the Daily Mail, which is normally awful, but for Leeds United stuff, it seems to be completely fine because they've got links with the 49ers, tier 2-ish, so fairly large pinch of salt. But he chose a move to Salernitana on loan instead. Completely understandable, to be honest. You're a young player. You're going to want a little bit of an opportunity to sort of like grow into your club, and moving from Italy to the UK at a moment's notice seems terrifying. Plus, the weather here is not as good. In addition to that, previous targets like Ryan Giles, what's Ramsey's name? Callum Ramsey? Connor Ramsey? The young fullback at Liverpool, and Daiki Hashioka have all seemingly gone elsewhere. There are sources for all of those, tier 1 or 2. It doesn't look like we're getting any of those players in. However, there is some real news, some big updates, and weirdly, Italian tax laws might have been very, very helpful to Leeds United on this one. We've reportedly placed a second bid for Ben Godfrey after our first one was rejected. The source on this one is Peter O'Rourke, who is tier 2/3, depending on your opinion of him. Hit and miss. It's not the biggest update, but it solidifies the fact that we've got interest in Ben Godfrey. And looking specifically at the Italian tax law stuff, the fact is, a few days ago, everyone was saying that there's a potential issue with Ben Godfrey going to Italy. It means he's not going to find his way to Leeds United, and that is very true. It's very hard for us to try and forge a move when there are Serie A clubs looking for a move, especially when they're not likely to get relegated. However, a big part of that came from the fact that Italy had a tax law in which if you were migrating over there to do like elite sports, you wouldn't have to pay as much tax on your wages. Fantastic. All good. But when you're agreeing with a club/player that you will pay the player's net wages rather than gross wages, then Italy had an advantage. They were able to say, okay, we can cover that because we've got a significant chunk off because of the tax thing. However, things have changed. That law is now gone or changed. But either way, it cannot help with signing Ben Godfrey anymore, which means that Italian clubs would have to pay more, which means that they now can't quite reach the loan targets they wanted previously, which is a massive problem for them. It means that they're mostly going to be restricted to talent from Italy or less expensive stuff, which is bad for Italian clubs, but fantastic for Leeds United. And whilst this isn't a huge update, it does solidify the fact that we've got interest, because for a few weeks this has been a conversation. Are we going to sign Ben Godfrey? Are Italian clubs going to get in the way? Italian clubs now can't get in the way. And yes, there are going to be a few other English clubs and clubs from across Europe that are potentially looking at him. And yes, Ben Godfrey said that he would quite like a move to a foreign country just to experience it. But we do have that Daniel Farke advantage because he played under him at Norwich. We do have the advantage of being a club that has the financial backing to be able to pay those wages. And I think it helps. We made the bid for a loan deal. There's not been any real news on a permanent move so far, but as things go, I think this Italian tax thing has definitely helped our move for Ben Godfrey. But ultimately, that's the news. I think we need to stay calm throughout the end of the window, because as much as we get these leaks from various places, remember what happened in the summer. Several times we got players in without any real hint that we were getting them beforehand. I think Rodon was an example. We didn't know we were signing Joe Rodon until he was through the door. Ampadu, another one. Piru, we knew a little bit, but not hugely. And when it comes to like rumours from this window so far, also, I've gone out of focus. Let's try and fix it. There we go. When it comes to rumours from this window so far, think about Daiki Hashioka. There was nothing linking us with him. And then we'd basically made the move until Luton hijacked it. I'm fairly confident that we'll be okay towards the end of this window, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you haven't yet liked the video, subscribe. You can even become a channel member if you like. That would be massively appreciated. I will see you later. Also, be nice in the comments. Some of you are real mean.